The Acolyte failed, and it's my fault. And yours, actually. At least according to Leslye Headland, who's back with another interview to whine about everyone else being to blame except her own incompetence.
Power one, power two, power many. Come.
I can only assume this got signed off by Hollywood because their dark rituals are worse than this one. The one thing Hollywood can't do is admit the problems coming from inside the house. Sorry, I wasn't prepared for her chin to be in a cavalry formation. Now, I've heard many excuses for people's incompetence, but saying that your Disney Plus TV show got cancelled because of fascists and racists, that's definitely a new one. I mean, I thought it got cancelled because it was aimed at an entirely wrong demographic for the one that cares about Star Wars, and in fact made the series almost into an episode of Milking Farm.
Pressed against him, she meets his sympathetic gaze, throbbing,
where you spend a lot of the time just thirsting over male characters.
As he begins to untie a belted knot from around his waist, she straightens up for a better look. He steps forward, with the sunlight accentuating his taut muscles. He begins to undress, revealing a prominent scar on his well-toned back.
For your male audience, while doing an audio description of the scene itself, which not only sounded like it was out of some dirty book, but was acted by a VA that sounds like she's making one.
He gently takes hold of her arm, the red blade still throbbing right in front of his throat. Osha gazes deeply into his eyes, throbbing.
Arguably the gayest Star Wars.
Now, Leslye Headland in this interview does say that she's actually, since the launch of YouTube, been part of the recap, criticism, and lionization of fandom community. She's known these YouTubers for years and years. But I don't know if you good people have ever been sitting there watching a video and thinking, I came here for news, entertainment, laughter about Star Wars. And instead, he keeps going on these random tangents, praising Mussolini. Now, at the worst case scenario, I may have, at some point, wondered how high you have to raise your arm before you become a socialist. I'm just interested. It's like there is a certain inch point at 6 foot where you become more attractive. So there must be a certain angle where you're like, I love capitalism, and then before you know it, Pedro Pascal's grabbing your arm and pulling it back down again. Little did we know Pedro Pascal saved Joaquin Phoenix from an entire political revolution. That's about as far as anything really goes on YouTube, though. Quite frankly, people love money too much to be fascists. Everything inside the state, nothing outside the state, sounds like a lot of taxes to me. That's enough to scare me off from self-interest reasons alone. And yet, according to Leslye Headland, that's what loads of these YouTubers are. I notice she doesn't name any of them, which is suspicious in itself. But it's not the only suspicious reason. If you have spent any time analysing what evil people generally try and slur their moral superiors over, you'll find that it's not normally just these two things. Actually, there's generally a whole list of things. All the ists and the phobes. You never find somebody who's just a phobe without being an ist as well. Except in this case, and I think I've discovered why, is Leslye Headland can't come out and go, you hate me because I've got a minge. She can't go out and accuse people of being sexist. Because we find out right at the start of the article that she has a production banner called Shoot to Midnight who elevates female voices. In fact, when all the studios were just throwing money at everything and therefore life was on easy mode, she built the studio on the ethos of elevating unacknowledged or underrepresented voices in dark comedy. But as the market got more challenging after A Cold, she then had to switch out and craft relationships, seeking out female writers, specifically television writers, who wanted to get in, break into the industry. In other words, kind of preyed on those newbies that didn't know what they were doing. We found out that none of them can actually be comedians, let alone dark comedians. So we had to pivot and just have them crammed into any hole we can find.
Way to set feminism back a few decades.
However, it is extremely difficult to start calling people ists and phobes when you run a discriminatory company yourself, which only hires women. That'll explain that then. Now, I don't know whether this is a new realization for her, because previously, she has even brought up this thing called benign sexism, part of paternal protectionism. She means being a good father. About how fatherhood is horrific, and obviously a daughter has to surpass her father. She has to reject what he tells her. She can't make him proud. She can't follow in his footsteps. Which to me really seems like she's got a chip on her shoulder the size of her own face. As such, her new interview, it's not exactly a surprise. It's the same complaints that many of the actors, and Hollywood in general, has been spinning before, except from a new angle. This one is a bit more subversive. It's even kind of complimentary in some parts. It's just that it carries with it the sort of poison of going, look, these people have power and that's a bad thing. Which is understandable, because if you were power hungry and self-identified as a Sith, you'd think that the real person who should have power is yourself, and it's slipping through your fingers due to your own incompetence. That wouldn't be something you could handle, and so you need a scapegoat. and the scapegoat, all of YouTube. It starts acknowledging the rollback in DEI and female-led projects at major studios, which is entirely a win. We're going to stop hiring incompetent people is, in general, a good business strategy. The only exceptions to this I can even think of would be something like actual clowns, just because people falling over is still funny, or maybe contestants in the Hunger Games. It's a type of development project I think people are more wary of than they were in 2018 to 19. That's because they always lose money. It's the incompetence. But even before she starts talking about the project, there's the paragraph here inserted by the writers of the rap, talking about how it became the target of racist online attacks, all because of its female lead, played by Amandla Stenberg. Now, I don't know why this would be the case for Stenberg, considering that her father is Danish. I don't know what the Danes have done to people, but apparently across the internet, there's just massive backlash if you cast a Dane. Although I have to say, the Danish do seem to be traditionally more covered up than Amandla Stenberg was herself. Now, I remember Amandla's comments about this issue. It wasn't a huge shock after vitriol. At no point did she stop to consider, maybe the vitriol was about something I did. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe if all of these people have a problem with me, I might be the problem. This is a person who admits that she lives in a bubble of her own reality. Read psychopathic delusions driven by insane lunatics. But I've been attacked by hyper-conservative. I don't know what that is. Conservatism would be, I really like everything I've got and I want to conserve it. I don't know what the hyper version of that is, unless it's going through space at speed. Bigotry, which makes sense because they want everything to remain the same. That's actually a virtue. And vitriol, that's a response to an action. Prejudiced hatred, they've got standards. And hateful language, accurately describing reality. And when reality is awful, accurately describing it. Well, it doesn't come across as very nice to the person who is awful.
It's about more than just color. It's about black people, poor people, everybody at the bottom.
Self-interest.
There was this language of privilege and whiteness and wealth that had to observe and adapt to.
This really affected me when I first got the job. However, I've kind of moved through those feelings in various ways. We saw you tended to move through them with your arse. Wiggle, wiggle, wiggle. I'm just saying, I don't think something seriously affects you when you decide to respond to it with arse.
Still throbbing right in front of his throat.
They've got Young Yi, who comes across as deluded himself when he goes, I thought Leslye Headland was a great writer. Which only makes sense when you realise he's Korean and can't read English. So he has no idea what she wrote. Leslye says, I was not surprised by the cancellation. I think I was surprised at the swiftness of it and the publicness of it. I thought you had loads of fans that desperately wanted an Acolyte Season 2. I know I did. You don't want to leave the fans not knowing about the future of the franchise. I think it's good for Disney to have publicly leaked that they cancelled it. And it was leaked. It was never an official announcement. Deadlight broke the story in an exclusive that said it was sources tell Deadline. Actually, what was surprising is how fast it got cancelled just a month after the 8-episode series. Almost as fast as the unfortunate deletion of Willow, one of the best series ever made. And so much cheaper. It cost just $17 million an episode, which was 45% cheaper than Secret Invasion and 27.3% less expensive than The Acolyte. So The Acolyte was always doomed. It had poor viewership, nobody cared about it, and it was more expensive than Willow. It could never reach that kind of quality level. So I'm not surprised that she wasn't surprised. But once I felt I was getting particular calls about the reaction and criticism and viewership, I felt like, okay, the writing's on the wall for sure. Now she goes on to basically conflate these two things. The criticism from videos like this, people on YouTube, and obviously the public's reaction on social media itself. With the viewership, these are very different things, as most viewers actually will never even talk about the show at all. They'll just leave. Most people aren't invested in Star Wars or the show enough to even leave a YouTube comment. They'll just watch the show, think it's ass, and go watch something else. They're busy, they've got work tomorrow. Meanwhile, I'm unemployed, I can talk about this crap. I've got nothing better to do except hunt PMCs on Tarkov. And obviously the real reason the show got cancelled is because nobody watched it. If it was massively popular, it doesn't matter what some people on YouTube said about it. They'd renew it because the public, the actual people that matter, they would have been making the show lots of money. But Leslye is at least smart enough to not blame the audience this time. I mean, her wife did come out and call everybody racists. Amandla Stenberg did make that diss track just attacking everybody.
If you tell someone that you don't see their race, you're actually discrediting their entire experience when thinking about your own privilege.
I think your son's tumor was caused by racism.
We had Lee come out and go, "My feelings were hurt. I can only have faith that racism will end someday." For Leslye Headland. Look, he can't speak English. He doesn't know what he's saying. He could have been asking her to make a sandwich for all I know.
Where did they come from?
Where did you go? Where did you come from, Cotton Eye Joe?
They've brainwashed you.
And of course, Jodie Turner-Smith, grifter extraordinaire,
Yes.
complained it was disappointing to feel like your studio is not having your back in a very public-facing way. They've got to stop doing this thing where they don't say anything when people are getting effing dogpiled on the internet with racism and bulls. Just for the record, I do want to confirm that at no point have I ever sent a bull at a celebrity. I would never do that. It's very dangerous, and I'm against the idea of bull running in the first place. Every celebrity is safe from bulls when I'm around. It's just not fair to not say anything. It's really unfair. It would be nice if all the people that have all the money were showing their support and putting their feet down. You're not a fan if you do this. Don't you understand? These minorities make up a very large percentage of buying power. She doesn't have the Korean excuse for not understanding English. We just have to assume this is down to low IQ. They might find it's actually more lucrative, but everyone's using woke like it's a dirty word. It is. It's a subset of the most evil ideology ever to have existed. But your show is created by somebody who self-identifies as a Sith, so I can understand why you've got her back.
This isn't about good or bad. This is about power and who is allowed to use it.
With identical twins, it was very difficult to tell them apart.
Leslye, though, she wasn't like the rest of the cast and just attacking every single audience member, and so she's going to focus on the reaction and criticism and pretend that that has nothing to do with the viewership or representing it. They forget that YouTubers are just people in bedrooms making videos. They don't control the audience. It's not mind control. It's not some kind of weird indoctrination. I can tell you to like the video and leave a comment. I can't make you do it. If I could, I'd get way more viewers. YouTubers would absolutely adore the power to get all of their audience to like a video, let alone leave a comment or subscribe. And if people had the ability to go, leave a super chat, and everybody did it, then I'd be as wealthy as your average Twitch commie. But generally, people watch channels that they either find funny, interesting, informative, or agree with. Not many people watch channels that they constantly disagree with. And so essentially, the reaction and criticism of a YouTube channel does come from the viewership itself. It is representative of it. But Headland's going to ignore that. Instead, it was a kerfuffle of online creators. She'd followed them for years. They'd rack up views and ad revenue through their lengthy reviews and recaps. Guilty. I do like the slur, though, of these people get ad revenue off it, like nobody knows. It's the insinuation that people lie on a video to make ad revenue. And again, forget where the ad revenue came from. The viewers watching the video because they like it and agree with it. Or at least like the person doing it. Nobody watches videos that just constantly lie to them. Well, unless it's a video from a magician. Ironically, the most honest profession, as they tell you they're gonna lie to you. But after kind of slurring, poisoning the well, she looks ahead and thinks Hollywood is misunderstanding how those business models work. The content is being put out by streamers or studios who've been snatched up by creators, commentators, synopsis, live videos, and they make money through views and Patreons. There's a lot of money to be made. Have at it. Get your coin. That's the caveat people say when they're about to contradict it. I don't mind you make money. But, no, not Amandla Stenberg's.
Interviews and shows where the spotlight goes, pretending life is tough when I'm in fancy clothes. Cry wolf, cry wolf.
But, there we go, it revealed to me that you can always sense it coming, can't you? It's like all's fair. But it revealed to me there is a misunderstanding between the studios and engagement. They think of it as a fandom, and it is, but the studios use it almost like a focus group, which is perfectly legitimate. Consistent views on a channel are representative that these people liked what's being put out. They at least like the person doing it or the way it's presented. There's some kind of benefit to the audience when they watch a video, otherwise they would stop watching it. Time is your most valuable asset, and so people don't waste their attention on something they get nothing out of, when they could be doing an infinite amount of other things. That means that when someone like Critical Drinker gets over 1 million views on a video, that's a very good focus group. You can even read the comments and get a focus group on the video itself. You can see how many people agree with it and disagree with it instantaneously. It might actually be Hollywood's most useful tool when it comes to what you should be doing. They can't get 1 million people in a room to give them feedback on a movie, but Critical Drinker can. But Headland thinks we could be moving to a world where the content being made about Star Wars is more culturally impactful than actual Star Wars. This can be taken 2 ways, and I think it's meant the more subversive and insulting way. You could be taking it as, well, Star Wars is losing relevance. No one really cares about Star Wars anymore. Star Wars isn't going to be changing minds. No one's going to be talking about it on forums or in the pub. But there are podcasts that people will tune in for hours to watch long-form discussion about things like Star Wars. And far more people would watch those than would watch a Leslye Headland interview. But we get to see Leslie's worldview, or lens as she calls it, in the full descriptive answers to the questions, where she talked about her discriminatory company, saying, yeah, you know, DI hires women. We're not a company myopically interested in that. It's just, as an unusual woman, and my other hires women, it just feels like that's my community. I am unusual, and so I see that world through my specific lens, and that means just doing different things. You know, we're not a company that's discriminatory, we just don't hire men, because I'm not one. I have a feeling that's a distinction without a difference, dear. It's not something I have a problem with, by the way. I think all companies should be able to do this. The main point is, I'm not sure the law agrees. And if you are going to do this, you can't really attack other people for doing the same, can you?
My character, she's a powerful leader. Yes, yes. In a very woman-centered world. Star Wars is very, like, patriarchal.
Now, she says the Acolyte was a major risk because we had to have new characters. We couldn't do things and tie it into existing lore like Andor did. No, we had to tie it into the High Republic novels. I don't know whether you had to set it in that time period and you couldn't ask for a different one, but yes, deciding to make a project in the High Republic era is like purposely wanting to punch yourself in your own face. But we didn't have the iconography of Star Wars. We only really had lightsabers, which, let's be honest, are the things which everyone has tried to steal from Star Wars. They're the coolest thing about Star Wars, actually. I also think any gripes creatively with the show are completely valid. Oh, do you, love? Any gripes with the show are valid. Although if you have any, you're a fascist and a racist. That's their reaction, although it's usually their reaction to their own reaction. In other words, you're not giving the show a proper shot. You've come up with a prejudgment about what you think the show's going to be, and then you respond to what you thought it was going to be. Presumably this is only possible if you didn't watch the show. In my reviews I do a breakdown with clips so everyone knows what I'm talking about. So this is cope. But it's the old adage that the first one through the wall is the bloodiest. As if there hasn't been failing Star Wars projects before. As if Kenobi didn't come out before with my favourite line of anything in Star Wars. Chases Kenobi down to a moon, lands his ship, walks out to face him and says, "Have you come to destroy me, Obi-Wan? You're the one that followed me, mate." But they shot for the sky, had no regrets, and still love her show, which would make sense. She would have made a show that she liked. It's just that she is an unusual woman, and so nobody else did, as very few people see the world through her lens. This is why it's important to abstract and be able to simulate other people's worldviews. Because if you can't do that, you can't create a story that other people like, unless you happen to be the dominant majority identity of a demographic, which she isn't. The only way she could make a popular show is if she actually put herself into somebody else's perspective. That means that as long as Leslye Headland writes shows that she likes, that write shows that are meant for her, they will always fail, because she's just such a fringe, niche perspective on the world. She says, though, Star Wars is honestly harder for creating narrative and dialogue and the characters. It's more about hiring the right people, like your wife, who can't act. It's more about giving my wife a job so we can take more money home. Or Amandla Stenberg, who decides to insult all of the fans, along with the rest of the cast. All those people were brilliant at insulting the audience.
Some of the fan base just sickened me to my stomach. You're no Star Wars fan in my mind.
What was it like for you to not only get attacked, but be weaponized by certain parts of the media? I don't want to go on a tangent, so I'll stick to the personal rather than professional. I was told by other people, I wasn't online, but I've always been part of the community. I've known them for years and years. So when I got information about what the weather report was, my friends were concerned, and that saddened me. It's odd, isn't it? I wasn't concerned myself. I was just saddened that other people were concerned. Don't they understand you should look out across the peasantry and go, you should not care about the plebs? Well, the plebs will do what they want. But don't you realise we've already got paid? We don't have to care about such stupid minor worries as the opinion of the audience. I was also like, I know who those guys are. You don't have to tell me who's talking about it or how bad it is online. I know exactly who they are. I support them on Patreon. Name them. YouTube is a big space with an infinite amount of opinions on it. You can find basically anyone, and they will say the perspective that you want on basically any topic. If you just want pro, oh my god, he evaded content for Star Wars, you can find it. I remember the compilations that were made about them. There are some of them that I respect, presumably the ones she supported. There are some of them I think are absolute snake oil salesmen. Liars, grifters, opportunists, as she would call it. This is my favourite classification of hers, because that means that she genuinely believes that there are YouTube channels out there that watched The Acolyte and loved it, and then made videos about how they couldn't, I just can't stand it. If they turned the camera, there would just be Acolyte merch all over their house. They've got the 4K box set on a projector screen on their wall at all times. And they're like, oh no, another day at the grindstone. I'm sorry, Amandla, but I'm gonna have to betray your trust by saying I actually don't like the song about you jiggling your arse.
I dropped a diss track. I dropped a diss track about it.
My dear, you should learn to be admired in silence.
I'll make it up to you, darling, I promise. It's like, come on. This category doesn't exist, and everybody that keeps trying to drag it out to pretend it does, I think is genuinely ill. And then, of course, there are the fascists and the racists. I mean, I did think Mussolini was dead, but apparently she has information otherwise. For my case, though, I say I love Willow and She-Hulk. I watched all of Robin Hood and 2 seasons of Velma. No, if I like something that's bad, I think by now we've all learned I don't have enough shame to lie about it. I'm not a good enough liar to attempt to lie about it. I also hate taxes far too much to be a fascist, so, you know, it isn't just one thing or another. That's handy. That means you can't actually say what the problem is. So I think if you're in the part of the fandom, you understand the genre and the tone of particular channels and creators. So I wasn't surprised. I was, though, disappointed. Ah, she's like a parent. I want you to know I'm not angry. I'm just disappointed in you. I expected better. Which is kind of ironic, really, because when I heard that Leslye Headland was making a Star Wars show, I didn't. I got the exact level of quality that I expected. It was just far more evil than I expected. And that, really, is one of Leslye Headland's big problems. I don't care about her moral condemnation when I've seen what makes her cheer. The Star Wars show itself was horrific. It was the show about a good person turning to evil and about how that was a good thing. At the end of the show, Amandla murders her father figure, a guy who goes, it's okay, I forgive you, I love you, only to have an interview about how going, he doesn't even give her the agency to make this choice for herself because he's accepting his fate. They were annoyed that he didn't die in enough agony, and I'm supposed to care what you think about my political worldviews. You can't insult somebody who thinks you're evil. You are already beneath them. And to insult someone from the moral high ground, the person has to believe you've got morals. And instead, what did we get? What did Leslye Headland think was important about Star Wars? That lightsabers are a phallic symbol. Enemies to lovers, like it's some kind of weird milking farm at book 7. And how at the end she bled on the lightsaber, turned into a Sith, joined the forces of evil, and that was going to be season 2. Just embracing darkness as a moral imperative. She even says that herself. That is what, when she's talking about benign sexism, she means paternal protection. She means fatherhood. And the daughter surpassing him. She can't stay a little girl or adolescent. She must reject what her father tells her. Reject what her father says she needs to do to make him proud, to follow in his footsteps, and she has to do it her way by turning to the side of darkness and evil. The Acolyte was a long-term moral condemnation of modernity, created by somebody who self-identified as evil. And that's the person, along with all of the people that agree with them, up in a line going, I think you're a bad person, and I'm supposed to care. I make hours upon hours of videos, I do hours upon hours of live streams, and you just can't really lie in them. If you did that, it'd be tiring, exhausting. You'd forget things, you'd get caught out all the time. Quite frankly, I'm just too lazy. It's so much easier to be honest and just say what you think, and then let the chips lie where they are. People can either like you and like your videos or not. That's the easiest way to make content. Make what you think. It's Hollywood that lies, the Hollywood that acts, Hollywood that projects false personalities on things, which they can do because they're actually not in the public eye that much. Anyone can lie in on red carpet or a meet and greet for 2 hours. Difficult when you're talking for hours every day. And so I can't help wondering if a lot of this is just projection. It's, oh yes, I remember what Hollywood's like, and so I assume all other industries are the same. I remember what I had to do when I was working for Harvey Weinstein. I'm not surprised that Hollywood's deluded. I am surprised they keep trying to take the moral high ground when we know your career. The Acolyte wasn't cancelled because of normal people. It was cancelled because normal people didn't watch it, because what you created wasn't normal. It wasn't aimed at the target demographic of Star Wars, and it didn't make any sense. You can strip it of everything. It just wasn't a good show. But when you add all that stuff back in, it gets worse. And it was incredibly funny. Largely because when you're watching it, you're like, wow, you think this is good?
Throbbing.
But a lot of the same backlash, the same commentary that she's complaining about was created by her co-stars. The things that they said at Star Wars Celebration.
The best parts about Star Wars is there is no good or evil.
What's it like working with Leslye on this series?
There's lots of hugging and crying, and
it has been so emotional. I'm shaking.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot.
It's been incredibly emotional, and I have cried many times today.
I'm emotional just knowing that you all are a part of this galaxy.
Or about why men really shouldn't be in Star Wars anymore. Don't you think we've had enough? I don't know, darling. Really does seem, though, that you were getting dogpiled for being a discriminatory bigot there, though, doesn't it? What she's witnessing, just like the rollback of DEI and everything, is her side is losing power. It's not profitable, and so people started ignoring it. Your words like bigots and angry fans, oh, woke backlash, doesn't carry any weight. Nobody cares. Your slurs have no power because everybody could see through them. It was the institutions, the corporations that gave you your power. You never earned it with the public, just like you never earned their viewership. You were given the job and hundreds of millions of dollars as a virtue signal, and you gave them trash back. And now you're looking for someone to blame, and you're blaming people that made videos. And what you don't realize is that by blaming creators, you're blaming their viewers. A creator is a nobody. It's the viewers that watch them and their communal combined opinion which gives the video any weight in the first place. So yes, I can understand Hollywood using videos as a focus group because the opinion of 1 million+ people watching a video and leaving their commentary and leaving their comments underneath means a hell of a lot more than Leslye Headland, ex-assistant of Harvey Weinstein, who set fire to a load of cash, cracked off a large chunk of that to take home herself, and then decided that it was the fans' fault, because they must have been early 20th century Italians. All while, of course, cry-bullying. I really loved these creators until they turned against me for money. Nobody lied and said The Acolyte was bad for money. Saying The Acolyte was bad was profitable because it was true. Because it was objectively, identifiably, clippably proven true. And if you know the tone of all these channels, you can probably predict what I'm about to say. And Leslye Headland, it's some advice for you. I know this may be a challenge, but one thing you might want to do, if you truly want to understand what was responsible for The Acolyte failing, and I know this is going to be difficult for you. I wouldn't want to do it either if I was you. But if you look in the mirror, then I think you'll find your answer. Also, go play Amandla Stenberg's song on repeat until you hate it as much as I do, because that definitely didn't help. You're welcome, Leslye. But for now, that's it from me. Those are just my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know down in the comments below. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe more videos like this in the future, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.